South Africa was as an apartheid state, was a truly appalling place. But let me be absolutely clear. South Africa never committed genocide against the black population like Israel have done against the Palestinians. Yes, there were mass murders, for instance, at Sharpeville in 1960, when over 300 women were shot dead for protesting against the identity document they had to carry, or in 1976 at Soweto, where black school children who refused to be taught in Afrikaans, the language of the oppressor, were simply shot down and hundreds were shot dead. Or at Boipatong, just south of Johannesburg in the 1980s, when ANC supporting workers were murdered because of their political allegiances. But at no point did the South African apartheid state attempt to wipe out the entire population of a piece of territory of our country in the way that Israel has done with Gaza. And the reason for that is very simple. Apartheid South Africa needed the black workforce for its economy to grow. Apartheid Israel does not require the Palestinians as a workforce, as a subjugated workforce, even though it does utilize some Palestinians. But it is nothing like the dependency that existed in apartheid South Africa. So in many ways, over the past 7 weeks and before that, we have seen the Israeli state engage in activities and actions that I believe are genocide, that are far, far worse than anything that was perpetrated by the apartheid South African state. In terms of what that means, looking at the situation going forward, there were a number of factors that resulted in the collapse of the apartheid state in South Africa. These included geopolitical realities like the collapse of the Soviet Union and the reordering of global geopolitics. It included a massive military defeat suffered by the South African Defense Force in southern Angola at the hands of the Cuban and Angolan forces. But crucial to that was that the quality of life of white South Africans started to deteriorate because of the effect of BDS. When people stopped buying South African products, when banks started charging massive premiums to roll over South Africa's debt obligations, when airlines simply cut off flights to and from South Africa, the South African economy was negatively affected. And the quality of life that us privileged whites live day to day started to deteriorate. And that is the point at which apartheid became unsustainable in South Africa. And that was due to massive global solidarity across the globe. Solidarity from students who refused to bank at Barclays Bank or Chase Manhattan because they were bankers to the apartheid state. And those banks soon realized that they were losing out on an entire generation of future customers. So they had to change their activities in South Africa. It was those people who, rather than filling up at a Shell service station, would simply drive past and go to whatever the next service station was, because Shell provided oil for the apartheid military forces. It was an extraordinary movement across the globe. And many people I come into contact with of my sort of age group, which is quite a bit older than either of you, remember their families, wherever they were living in the world, engaging in boycott, divestment, and sanctions against South Africa. And this was at all levels. It included sporting contact, cultural contacts. So it was only real profiteers, musicians and others, and sports people who would come to South Africa privately, where they were paid ridiculous amounts of money to play or to perform for the apartheid state. But crucially, most crucial of all, the boycott of South African goods, the divestment of companies from the country, and massive sanctions against the country that increased the prices of everything. And any politician on the planet who has a shred of humanity would have to support BDS against the current Israeli state.